pros are the reason that this looks so good. I mean, Toni and Camille, Al and Dougie, and everybody at OVW who let me slam them incessantly until I got it right. You know, truly everyone who trained me, it's the reason it looks good.
What is going on, you guys? Welcome into the Takedown on SI YouTube channel. Rick Ucchino here with a very special guest. You may know her from the hit series Arrow, helping Oliver Queen kick some ass, but now she is taking matters into her own hands, starting this weekend with the release of Queen of the Ring. Emily Bett Rickards is my guest. She is portraying the great Mildred Burke. Emily, thank you so much for your time. It's a big weekend for you guys. I'm sure you're very, very excited about the release of this.
What an intro. I'll take it.
All right. Yeah, I do what I can. The buzz, excuse me, for this movie has been slowly but surely building. You know, how are you feeling now that the release date is finally here?
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, the reviews have been great. The wrestling community seems to be really behind us. We have had some of the family members of Mildred Burke, share their thoughts and their heartwarming blessings, and we're really excited for the world to know her story. When I met Mildred's story, I was enamored, and I'm really excited for everyone else to get to know who she is.
What was the family reaction when they saw your portrayal?
Well, really a lot of warmth, um, and sharing stories, and there's no other word for it really than just to give the blessing and to us to feel connected in such a deep sense for not knowing one another, and it was truly special. Yeah, we're so blessed.
Yeah, I was, I consider myself an avid wrestling. Yeah, obviously, I've been watching since the mid '90s now, and avid, supporter of women's wrestling. I didn't even know Mildred's story that much when this first came out. I think it is having now watched the film and seen everything that she went through and your portrayal of her, I do think it's really exciting to get to share her story with an entirely different generation of professional wrestling fans.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't know who she was, and Ash, our director, said that he didn't know who she was either, and he's an avid wrestling fan. It has been his whole life, and she was invited after her death into the Wrestling Hall of Fame, and I think it was in 2016, and he had been working on the script in 2015, and so for that to kind of just happen like that, and to not know her story it's wild. I think she deserves to be remembered. She might have just kind of fallen into the dark holes of history somewhere.
Not anymore. Not anymore. She's
Not anymore, baby.
getting her own spotlight the way she deserves. I was hooked the moment I saw the first trailer for this, and having now seen the movie, I look, I don't blow smoke. I think you did a hell of a job with this role. I think this is a film that folks should go see, whether or not they're a wrestling fan or not, because I think Mildred's story, it really does transcend professional wrestling. What was it about? You said you were enamored with it. What about her story drew you to doing this role?
Yeah, I just really believed in who she was, and I thought it was a disservice that I didn't know who she was. She was a woman who really forwarded women's empowerment, women's wrestling for sure, but she believed that femininity and strength coexist, and they not only that make each other stronger, and she really believed in this force of equality. And the other thing is, I really don't think you have to be a wrestling fan to come see this film. I see a lot of films that I'm not proficient in the content of, and I think it's a story, and I think it's a good story, and I think it's a human story, and I think that there's a lot to relate in this film, no matter where you come from.
What was your knowledge of the professional wrestling world when you dove into this?
I didn't know one thing about wrestling when I started, and I think that's a good thing. I do, because I didn't have any preconceived notions, especially because we're working in an era of the 40s and 50s, and a lot of what's out there right now is a totally modern day take on wrestling, and so I didn't have to delete everything just to get there. And I'm a fan now. I've worked with some of the best, and I couldn't be more privileged, and I have a personal relationship now to the world of wrestling, and man, it's an addictive sport. I can see why people do it.
Yeah, no, trust me. I know from firsthand experience. Like the wrestling bug is very real. Like I had the privilege of training not far from where you did, up in Cincinnati, just right up the road from Louisville, for 18 months, and it
Wow.
was, yeah, it was an absolute joy. It was nothing I wanted to pursue professionally. Obviously, I started when I was 33, a little late in the game for me, but It really, there really is a bug that you catch to it. Is it something that, you know, whatever opportunity may present itself down the line, you might look at, doing some more with the sport now that you've
I'll
kind of
never
got the
say no.
taste of it?
I really enjoyed it. I'm an athletic person and a physical person, and I love the showwomanship of it. So yeah, let's see what comes.
Now, did you get any advice from your good buddy Stephen Amell before heading into this role? Obviously, big
Oh,
wrestling fan.
Steven and I didn't talk wrestling at all, but maybe now that I'm in the world, yeah.
So take me through the whole training process. You get into you guys went down to Louisville for about 3 weeks, right? So what were your expectations heading into it? And were they more difficult, easier once you got in the ring from what you were anticipating?
I don't know if I think I was just more adrenaline pumped than anything. I was really clicked in, immediately into flow state kind of learning because of the, time pressure that we had as well as the um when you get to set, you really don't have all day. Sometimes it may feel like it, but you really need to be able to perform, right? It's about calling the art and in this case also the choreography to action between action and cut at the right time. And so that type of pressure fuels me quite well. And so I was just kicked in and ready.
What about like so you get down to OVW, you're training with Al Snow. Obviously, 3 weeks is not a lot to learn the basics of professional wrestling. So how much did it help getting to work with somebody like a Tony Storm, who one of the first,
Oh,
big parts of the
I mean,
movie is you and her in the ring together?
the pros are the reason that this looks so good. I mean, Tony and Camille, Al and Dougie and everybody at OVW who let me slam them incessantly until I got it right. Um, you know, truly everyone who trained me, it's the reason it looks good. It When Camille and Tony don't look like they're in the lead, they are. They're really designing it, and that's their amazing training put to work. They're truly just mwah.
So what was the, because there's the in-ring training, but then there's actually getting ready for the role
Mm.
and getting into the physical shape of being Mildred Burke. What was that training like for you?
Yeah, different. A lot less adrenaline fueled, but it was a lot of slow, heavy weights and a lot of protein and no cardio. And as I got bigger, the workouts got bigger and changed. I had two trainers, Thomas Taylor and Dr. Diego Bottizelli, back in Vancouver, who honestly made my body. It's a full team of people who really helped me get into that type of shape because that is not my body. That is definitely Mildred's.
That's interesting that like there was no cardio involved in that because cardio is like the most important thing in professional wrestling. So yeah,
Yes, I mean, what we were trying to do is go for the largest muscle build that you could do in a short period of time. I'm already quite active, so my cardiovascular health is pretty good. I can keep up in that sense. But I did not, need. It's definitely exhausting, but we were really going for how do we make the muscles look the biggest in this short period of time, make them look full and good for camera.
what was the once the training was done, once the shooting was over, what was like the big introduction into being a regular human being again? How did you celebrate?
It I don't know, it was kind of tough. I went home, it was the middle of summer and my body was kind of done eating chicken and that kind of thing. And it told me that it was done. The process of leaving any project, you not only sort of grieve your experience, but you end up grieving a character that you have been close with for a while. And in this case, also deloading off of muscle and some a routine that your body's been in so intensely for a while. It was a little more difficult, but I still think Mildred's around, and I'm so grateful I met her, and it's uh it's really exciting to see this project come together in the way that it has. It's really heartwarming.
Just like a great wrestling show, I think there are so many storylines surrounding Mildred that are
Yeah.
beautifully interwoven. Throughout this film, her relationship with Billy Wolf and his son, raising her own son, on the road, the fight for women's equality in professional wrestling, which is still going on today, but was a completely different can of worms in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. But for me personally, it's that underlying story arc of what is the cost, right, of making your dreams come true. Everything may look, glamorous on the surface, but behind the scenes, it may be total chaos. I think that's something that really kind of shined in this film.
Yeah, for Mildred, she never let herself give up on the dream, and I think that there is a certain type of suffering that she put up with. Her manager and husband, Billy Wolf, was violent. He was manipulative and really didn't have her best interests at heart, and he was trying to actively bury her. So, being not only in business with this man was a sacrifice, but it was also part of how she could being in the marriage with him was a sacrifice, but that was the only way she knew how to be in business with him. She wasn't sure how to do it. And he ends up kind of, knowing more about business than her, because she wasn't allowed in the room really back then as a woman. She didn't have any education in business because she wasn't allowed to have any education in business. She wasn't allowed to play in that arena. And this was her way of getting in the door. I think that if she has regrets and if she had doubt, she was always getting back up for wrestling and always getting back up for her son and always getting back up for her dream. So yeah, I do think that there is sacrifices and there is suffering, but I think that she really did live out her dream as far as she could, and I think she'd be really proud to know that she paved the way for so many women today.
It's such an interesting dynamic, right? Because it's like there's no way that those two people should be working with one another. But in a very much of a sense, they needed each other to be successful because, like you said, Mildred couldn't get in the door to the business aspect, but Billy wasn't the draw. It was Mildred who was the draw.
Yeah, Mildred was the draw. And, Billy was innovative in his own right. He was a genius in the way that he wanted to get women's wrestling out there. He was making moves other people wouldn't make. He was taking risks. But he not only had his demons, I think he, performed badly in many ways and definitely didn't treat Mildred right. And yeah, their story doesn't end where we end telling it. And if you want to know more about it, you need to read Jeff Leen's book. He's got a lot more in there of where her life leads. And
Or we need a sequel. I think that would work.
go see the movie. Be inspired.
Yes. All right. Well, Emily, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I'm telling you guys, you need to go out and check out this movie. I'm gonna do it again myself, probably more than once. Thank you so much. And again, you did a hell of a job.
Appreciate it. Come to the movies.